Captain Marcus Kane sat alone in the dimly lit briefing room, staring at the holo map floating above the table. The map showed the dark side of the galaxy, where the HFY homeworld was located, a place humans knew only from stories of war and destruction. The HFY were fierce warriors, feared by many. Their ships had attacked human colonies for years. Now, the war was close to Earth itself. The door hissed open, and a stern-faced officer stepped in. "Captain Kane, you have your orders," she said without emotion. "You are to travel to the HFY homeworld as an envoy. Your mission is to negotiate peace." Marcus sighed deeply. "Peace," he repeated quietly. "With those monsters." "They are not monsters," the officer replied coldly. "They are our enemies, but also a people. The war is costly. Command believes this is the best chance to end it." Marcus stood and nodded slowly. He didn't trust the HFY, but he understood the stakes. War had taken many lives. He had lost friends. The thought of more bloodshed made him tired. The next day, Marcus boarded the sleek human starship bound for the HFY system. The journey was long and quiet. His mind raced with questions. What would the HFY want? How could peace be possible? Most of all, why him? When the ship arrived, Marcus was met by HFY guards. Tall, strong, with shimmering blue skin and glowing eyes. They escorted him to the palace, a giant structure that seemed alive, with walls that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Marcus felt a strange mix of fear and awe. Then he saw her. Queen Azura stood before him, taller than any human, her skin shining like polished silver under the palace lights. Her eyes were sharp and bright, but also calm. She smiled slightly as she spoke in perfect common, the universal language of the galaxy. "Captain Marcus Kane," she said, her voice smooth and strong. "Welcome to HFY Prime." Marcus bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Azura's gaze did not waver. "I have watched your people's war efforts. I see strength and courage. But I also see destruction. This endless fighting serves no one." Marcus nodded. "We want peace, but trust is hard." She stepped closer. "If you want peace, you must marry me." Marcus blinked, stunned. "Marry you?" The queen smiled again. "Yes, a bond of marriage between us will unite our peoples. It will create peace that no treaty alone can guarantee." Marcus felt the weight of her words. This was no ordinary offer. It was a challenge, one that could change everything. He swallowed hard and met her eyes. "I need time to think." Azura nodded. "You have my patience, Captain. But know this, the war waits for no one." As Marcus left the palace, his mind spun with doubt and hope. Could he accept such a strange proposal? Could humanity trust an alien queen enough to marry her? One thing was clear, his life, and the fate of two worlds, were about to change forever. Captain Marcus Kane woke early the next morning. The sun of HFY Prime was not like Earth's. It was softer, casting a blue glow over everything outside his room. The palace was quiet, but Marcus felt restless. The queen's words echoed in his mind. "If you want peace, you must marry me." It sounded impossible. He dressed slowly and went to meet Queen Azura again. This time, he hoped to understand more about her and what she truly wanted. Azura waited in a large hall filled with strange, glowing plants. She looked calm and confident, wearing a silver robe that shimmered with every step. When Marcus entered, she smiled. "Good morning, Captain," she said. "I hope your rest was peaceful." Marcus nodded. "I'm still trying to understand why you want to marry me. It's not a simple thing." Azura's eyes softened. "Marriage means unity for the HFY. It is not only about two people, it is about two peoples becoming one." Marcus frowned. "But why me? I am just one soldier." "You are more than a soldier," Azura said. "You are a leader, a symbol of humanity's courage and honor. If we unite through this bond, It will show that humans and Silari can trust each other. Marcus looked away, thinking, could one marriage really stop years of war and hate? Could humans and aliens ever live together? Suddenly, the doors opened, and two advisors entered. They bowed to the queen but kept their eyes on Marcus. Azura spoke quickly in Silari, and the advisors nodded. Then she turned to Marcus. "There is more you should know," she said. "The war is not just between our peoples. A new threat is rising, one that will destroy us both if we do not stand together." Marcus's eyes widened. What kind of threat? Azura's voice lowered. "The Voidborn. An ancient force that eats worlds and stars. They were defeated long ago, but now they return. We fought separately and weakened each other. Alone, neither of us can survive." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The stories about the Voidborn were legends, terrible beings from beyond the galaxy. If they were real, this was worse than any war he had faced. "So, you want to marry me because we need to unite against this danger?" Marcus asked. "Yes," Azura said simply. "Our peoples have fought too long. The only way to protect our homes is to become one." Marcus looked into her eyes and saw no trickery, only honesty and fear. The war had changed her, but it had also made her wise. He thought of his family, his friends lost in battle, and the millions who still lived in fear. Maybe this strange marriage was the only chance for peace. "I will consider your offer," Marcus said, "but I need to speak with my commanders first." Azura nodded. "Of course, but remember, time is short." Marcus left the hall with a heavy heart. He knew the peace he dreamed of would not come easily. Trust was fragile, and this marriage was more than a promise. It was a leap into the unknown. As he walked through the palace, Marcus wondered, could a human soldier and an alien queen truly bring peace to the galaxy? The answer might decide the future of all. Back on the human starship orbiting Xelar Prime, Captain Marcus Kane faced a difficult task. He needed to explain Queen Azura's shocking proposal to his commanders, and convince them it was more than just a strange idea. The war room was full of tense faces. The commanders were battle-hardened veterans, proud and skeptical. Marcus felt their eyes on him as he began. "The queen wants to marry me," Marcus said, watching their reactions carefully. There was a stunned silence. Then, Commander Ellis, a gruff man with a scar across his cheek, laughed bitterly. "Marry an alien queen? That sounds like a bad joke," Ellis said. "We're soldiers, Captain. We fight with weapons, not weddings." Marcus held up a hand. "I know it sounds strange, but this marriage is a political alliance. It could end the war." Lieutenant Sarah Kim shook her head. "How can we trust the Xilari? They've attacked us for years. What if this is a trap?" Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his chest. They all had good reasons to doubt. The Xilari had been enemies for so long that peace seemed impossible. "But there's more," Marcus said. "Queen Azura told me about the Voidborn, the ancient force returning to destroy us all." A murmur spread through the room. Ellis scoffed. "Legends and stories. I don't believe in ghosts." Sarah looked serious. "If it's true, we need to unite. But how can we join with the enemy when we don't trust them?" Marcus sighed. "We don't have much choice. The Voidborn won't wait for us to be ready." The commanders exchanged worried looks. After the meeting, Marcus walked alone on the ship's observation deck. The stars outside were cold and distant, but the weight of the galaxy felt heavy on his shoulders. He thought about the queen, the strange, powerful woman who dared to ask for his hand in marriage to save two worlds. Could he really take that step? His communicator beeped. It was a message from Earth. "Captain Kane," the voice said, "your proposal has caused unrest. Many fear alien influence. You must be careful. The Council demands proof this alliance will work." Marcus clenched his fists. Earth was scared, and so were many of his fellow soldiers. But he also remembered the Queen's words, "If you want peace, You must marry me." It was a challenge, a test of courage and trust. That night, Marcus dreamed of a future where humans and Siluri fought side by side, where his marriage was a symbol of hope and unity. He woke determined. The next day, he requested a second meeting with Queen Azura. He needed answers before he could face his people again. When he arrived, the queen greeted him with a knowing smile. "You have doubts," she said gently. "Many," Marcus admitted. "Your proposal is risky, but I want to believe it can work." Azura nodded. "Trust takes time. I will show you my people's true nature. You will see we are not just warriors." She gestured toward a holographic map showing cities, farms, and schools on Xillar Prime. "We want peace too, but our world faces threats inside and out." Marcus looked at the map and then at Azura. Maybe this strange alliance was the only way forward. "All right," he said finally. "Show me." Azura smiled warmly. "Come with me, Captain. The real journey begins now." The grand hall of the Xilari Palace was filled with glowing lights and strange, beautiful decorations. Xilari nobles and human diplomats stood side by side, watching silently. Captain Marcus Kane felt the heavy weight of their eyes. Today was the day of the ceremony, the day he would marry Queen Azura. Marcus stood tall, but his heart pounded like a drum. This was more than a wedding. It was a bond between two worlds, a symbol of hope for peace. He glanced at Azura, who looked radiant and calm in her shimmering silver dress. Her eyes met his, steady and strong. The high priest of the Xilari stepped forward. His voice echoed through the hall, speaking in the ancient Xilari tongue. Then, Azura translated. "This marriage is not just for love," she said. "It is a pact, a promise to protect each other, to stand united against all threats." Marcus nodded. The room was silent, waiting. The priest raised a glowing crystal between Marcus and Azura. The light touched their hands, and Marcus felt a strange warmth spread through him. The crystal connected them, body and spirit. It was a binding ritual, old as the stars. When the ritual ended, the crowd erupted in quiet cheers. For the first time in years, humans and Siluri shared a moment of hope. But Marcus knew the real work had just begun. After the ceremony, Azura led Marcus to a private chamber. "The peace we want will need more than ceremony," she said softly. "We must build trust, learn from each other." Marcus agreed. "I want to understand your people, your world." Over the next days, Azura showed Marcus her home, not the battlefield, but the life beyond it. He visited schools where Xilari children learned about both their own culture and humanity. He walked through markets filled with colors and sounds unlike anything on Earth. He met families who hoped for peace as much as he did. Marcus was surprised to see how much they shared: hopes, fears, dreams. The Xilari were not just warriors. They were a people with hearts. But the war still hung over them like a dark cloud. Not all Xiluri supported the queen's choice. Some whispered of betrayal, others of fear. Marcus heard stories of secret groups plotting to end the peace. One evening, while walking in the palace gardens, Marcus found a young Xiluri soldier watching him closely. "You are the human who married the queen," the soldier said. "Many do not trust you." Marcus met his gaze. "Neither do I fully trust myself." The soldier smiled faintly. "Then you must prove yourself, Captain. Actions speak louder than words." Marcus felt the truth in those words. This marriage was not just a symbol, it was a challenge. To prove to the Xilari and to humanity that peace was possible. As he looked up at the twin moons of Xillar Prime, Marcus knew the path ahead would be hard. But for the first time, he believed it might lead to a future worth fighting for. Captain Marcus Kane had been on Xillar Prime for several weeks now. Each day, he learned something new about the Xilari, their history, culture, and their hopes for peace. But still, a part of him wondered if he truly understood them. One evening, Azura invited Marcus to a private meeting in her study, a room filled with glowing maps and ancient books. She looked serious, her usual calm replaced by a hint of worry. "There is something you must know," she said quietly. "Not everything about our world is as it seems." Marcus leaned forward, listening closely. Azura told him about the Voidborn, the ancient enemy she had mentioned before. They were more than just a threat. The Voidborn were creatures that destroyed entire planets, feeding on energy and life itself. Long ago, the Xilari had fought them to a standstill, but never defeated them completely. "They are coming back," Azura said, "sooner than we expected." Marcus felt a chill. He had heard stories about the Voidborn as a child, terrifying legends told to scare children. But now, it was real. "We have kept this secret to protect our people," Azura continued. "Many Xilari do not believe the danger is real. They think the war with humans is our only threat." Marcus shook his head. "But if the Voidborn are true, why not tell everyone? Why risk fighting each other when a greater enemy waits?" Azura sighed. "Fear and pride. Old wounds run deep. It is easier to fight a known enemy than face a terrible unknown." Marcus understood. He thought of Earth's history, how fear and mistrust had started many wars. "We must unite," Marcus said firmly. "If the Voidborn come, we will need all the strength we can find." Azura smiled sadly. "That is why I asked you to marry me. You are the bridge between our peoples." Marcus felt the weight of her words. The marriage was not just a political act. It was a symbol of hope, trust, and survival. Suddenly, the palace alarm sounded, a sharp, urgent sound. Azura's face turned serious. "They are here. The Voidborn have arrived near our system." Marcus grabbed his gear. "Then we must act fast." Azura nodded. "Prepare yourself. This is only the beginning." As Marcus followed the queen through the palace halls, he realized the peace he hoped for was fragile and temporary. The war with the Xilari was only one piece of a larger, more dangerous puzzle. Outside the windows, the stars seemed darker, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Marcus's mind raced. He had accepted the strange marriage to bring peace between two species. Now he faced a threat that could destroy them both. But he was ready. For humanity. For the Xilari. For the future. Captain Marcus Kane stood in the training hall of the Xilari Palace, surrounded by unfamiliar technology and alien instructors. The days of simply being the soldier were over. Now he had to become something more. A warrior who could survive and fight alongside the Xilari. Queen Azura watched from the side, her eyes calm but full of hope. "You must learn their ways, Marcus. The Voidborn will not wait for us to be ready." Marcus wiped sweat from his brow as he struggled to master the alien weapons. The Xilari fought differently from humans. Their moves were faster, more precise, and their weapons had strange powers Marcus had never seen. But the biggest change was the biological transformation. The Xilari scientists had begun a process to adapt Marcus's body to their environment. His skin tingled as nanobots worked inside him, improving his strength and endurance. His vision sharpened, allowing him to see in low light, and his breathing adjusted to the thin atmosphere of Xilari Prime. It was painful and strange, but Marcus knew it was necessary. During breaks, he spent time with Azura, learning about her people's history and values. She told stories of ancient battles, of heroes who had fought for peace, and of the hope that the next generation could build a better future. Marcus felt a growing respect for her and the Xilari. They were not so different after all. Both races wanted to survive, to protect their homes, and to find peace. One day, during a sparring session, Marcus faced a young Xilari warrior named Sarek. The fight was intense, but Marcus surprised himself by holding his own. Afterward, Sarek approached him with a nod of approval. "You learn quickly, human. You will be a strong ally." Marcus smiled. "Thanks, Sarek. I hope to prove that I am more than just a soldier." As training continued, Marcus's body changed. He felt stronger and faster, but he also felt the weight of the responsibility growing inside him. He was not just fighting for himself, but for two peoples who had suffered too long. One night, while resting, Marcus looked up at the sky through his window. The stars shone brightly, but a dark shadow loomed, the threat of the Voidborn. He thought of the marriage, the alliance, and the future they had promised each other. The road ahead was dangerous and uncertain. But Marcus was ready to face it. For peace, for humanity, for the galaxy. The dark clouds over Xelar Prime mirrored the storm brewing in Captain Marcus Kane's mind. Training had made him stronger, but the threat of the Voidborn grew closer every day. The sky outside the palace was restless, a silent warning of the coming battle. Marcus stood with Queen Azura on a balcony overlooking the city. Below them, the people of Xelar went about their lives, unaware or unwilling to face the danger. Marcus felt the pressure of responsibility more than ever. "The Voidborn are not just a threat to us," Marcus said quietly. "They will destroy everything. Your world, my world, every star we see." Azura nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "That is why we must unite now. Our people need to see that peace is their only hope." Suddenly, alarms rang out across the palace. A fleet of Voidborn ships had entered the system. The dark vessels moved like shadows, blocking out stars as they advanced. Marcus and Azura hurried to the command center. The room buzzed with activity as Xelari and human officers worked side by side, planning their defense. Marcus's heart pounded. This was no longer a distant threat. It was here. "Captain Kane," a young officer said, "our scouts report that the Voidborn ships are targeting the cities. We need to evacuate the civilians and prepare our fighters," Marcus ordered. "Azura, what can your forces do?" Azura's expression was calm but fierce. "We will fight to protect our home, but we need your fleet's support." The battle plan was set quickly. Marcus led a squadron of mixed human and Xelari pilots into space. The fleet moved as one, a shining line of hope against the dark Voidborn shadow. The fight was brutal. Voidborn ships fired strange energy beams that tore through shields and hulls. Marcus's fighter shook as it dodged blasts, his hand steady on the controls. He saw Xelari and human pilots fall beside him, but no one gave up. "Hold the line," Marcus shouted through the comms. "We fight for our future." The sky exploded with light and sound. Marcus fired his weapons, aiming carefully at the nearest Voidborn ship. A hit. The enemy vessel shuddered and broke apart. But the battle was far from over. As the fight continued, Marcus felt a strange pull in his body. The nanobots from the transformation process seemed to react to the Voidborn's energy. His vision sharpened, his strength surged. He realized that the bond between him and the Xelari was growing deeper, not just political, but physical and spiritual. When the battle finally ended, the Voidborn retreated, but the cost was high. Ships were lost, and many lives were gone. Back on Xelar Prime, Marcus looked at Azura. "This war will not end soon." "No," she replied. "But together, we are stronger." Marcus nodded. The strange marriage that had once seemed impossible was now a symbol of hope, a beacon in the dark. For peace, for survival, for the future. After the fierce battle against the Voidborn fleet, peace settled over Xelar Prime. But it was a fragile peace. Captain Marcus Kane and Queen Azura knew it was only a brief pause before the next attack. Marcus spent more time with Azura now, learning not just about her people but about herself. She was no longer just a queen or an alien warrior. She was his partner in this dangerous fight. One evening, they sat together in the palace garden, under the soft glow of the twin moons. The flowers around them glowed faintly in the night air, a peaceful contrast to the war that threatened their world. Azura looked at Marcus with a soft smile. "You have changed, Marcus, not just in body, but in spirit." Marcus touched his arm, feeling the slight difference in his skin, the nanobots inside him working to make him stronger, faster, and more connected to the Xelari. I feel it too, Marcus said. Like I am becoming part of your world. Azura nodded. That is the true power of our bond. Marriage between our peoples is not just about peace. It is about unity, combining our strengths. Marcus thought back to the battle. The nanobots had reacted to the Voidborn energy, giving him abilities he never had before. He was no longer just a human soldier. We need this unity, Marcus said, because the Voidborn will not stop. Azura's smile faded. They grow stronger every day. If we do not act soon, they will consume everything. Marcus stood, looking up at the stars. We need to prepare our people, not just for war, but for trust. They must see that together we are stronger. Azura reached for his hand. And that starts with us. The next days were filled with meetings, training, and strategy. Marcus and Azura appeared together before their people, humans and Silari alike. Their marriage was now a symbol of hope and strength. But it was not easy. Some humans whispered that Marcus was losing himself. Some Silari believed Azura was too soft for an alien queen. Marcus ignored the doubts. He knew what was at stake. One night, during a quiet moment, Azura revealed something to him. There is an ancient Silari ritual that will deepen our bond. It will connect us more deeply, mind and body. It is dangerous, but it will help us fight the Voidborn. Marcus looked at her. I trust you. The ritual took place under the largest moon, in a circle of glowing stones. The air hummed with power as they joined hands, their minds opening to each other. Marcus felt a rush of energy and understanding flow between them. For a moment, he saw the world through Azura's eyes, her fears, her hopes, and the pain of war. When it ended, Marcus knew their connection was stronger than ever. They were not just allies. They were truly united. Together, they would face the coming storm. The bond between Captain Marcus Kane and Queen Azura had grown stronger than ever. Their minds and hearts were connected, and their people looked to them as the true leaders of a fragile new alliance. But danger was closer than anyone wanted to admit. One morning, the palace alarm sounded again, louder and more urgent than before. Scouts had spotted a massive fleet of Voidborn ships heading directly toward Sealar Prime. This time, there was no time to prepare. Marcus stood at the command center, his gaze fixed on the blinking radar screens. The Voidborn fleet was larger than before, its ships moving faster and more aggressive. Azura entered the room, her expression calm but fierce. They come to destroy everything. Marcus nodded. We will stop them. Together. The human and Silari forces scrambled to get ready. Marcus felt the strength of his enhanced body and the connection he shared with Azura. They were ready to face the darkness. But before the battle began, a strange signal appeared on their communications. It was unlike anything they had seen. A message in an ancient language, a warning. Azura studied the message carefully. It is a warning from the Voidborn themselves. Marcus looked shocked. A warning. What could they want? Azura translated the message. The Voidborn spoke of a greater enemy, an ancient force even darker and more dangerous than themselves. They warned that if the war continued, this greater threat would awaken and destroy all life. Marcus's mind raced. The Voidborn were enemies, but now they seemed almost like protectors warning of an even worse fate. Azura said quietly, "This changes everything. We must find a way to stop this war before it destroys us all." The battle began before they could decide. The fleet clashed in the dark skies, weapons blazing. Marcus flew through the chaos, fighting with new strength and skill. But his thoughts were elsewhere, on the warning and what it meant for their future. After hours of fierce fighting, the Voidborn ships retreated once more, damaged but still threatening. Marcus landed his fighter, exhausted but determined. "We need a new plan," he said, "one that brings all forces together, even former enemies." Azura looked at him with hope. "Then we must reach out beyond our worlds. Find others who will stand with us." The peace Marcus had dreamed of was still fragile, but now he knew it was more important than ever. Their marriage was not just a symbol, it was a beacon in the darkness. And together, they would fight to protect all life in the galaxy. The warning from the Voidborn had changed everything. Captain Marcus Kane and Queen Azura knew their fight was no longer just for their people, it was for all life in the galaxy. Together, they called for a council of leaders from nearby systems, humans, Silari, and even some former enemies. It was the first time so many different worlds had come together with one goal, to stop the coming darkness. In the Grand Hall of Silar Prime, representatives gathered. Some were skeptical, some angry, but all listened as Marcus and Azura spoke with passion. "This war between us must end," Marcus said. "If we continue to fight, the greater enemy will destroy us all." Azura stepped forward. "Our marriage was the first step toward peace. Now we must unite beyond that bond and prepare for the threat ahead." Slowly, the leaders began to agree. Plans were made to share technology, weapons, and knowledge. Armies would train together. Scouts would explore the stars for signs of the greater enemy. But it was not easy. Old fears and grudges surfaced. Arguments threatened to break the fragile alliance. Marcus and Azura worked day and night, showing strength and patience. They reminded everyone that the future depended on unity. As the weeks passed, Marcus felt the transformation inside him grow deeper. The nanobots were no longer just tools. They had become a part of him. His mind could connect with Azura's, sharing thoughts and feelings instantly. One night, they stood on a balcony, looking out at the stars. "Do you think we can really stop what's coming?" Marcus asked. Azura smiled gently. "We must believe, because if we don't, no one else will." Suddenly, a bright flash lit the sky. A message from the scouts. They had found signs of the greater enemy awakening, a massive force moving through the galaxy like a dark storm. Marcus clenched his fists. "Then we have no time to lose." The Alliance fleet prepared for the greatest battle in history. Soldiers trained harder, scientists worked faster, and leaders made plans for survival. Marcus and Azura stood side by side, ready to lead their people into the unknown. Their marriage had started as a strange and unlikely union, a tool for peace between two worlds. But now, it was a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. Together, they would face the darkness. Together, they would protect life. And together, they would prove that when different worlds unite, they can overcome even the greatest threats. The stars were watching, and a new chapter for humanity and the Xilari was about to begin. The warning from the Voidborn had changed everything. Captain Marcus Kane and Queen Azura knew their fight was no longer just for their people, it was for all life in the galaxy. Together, they called for a council of leaders from nearby systems, humans, Silari, and even some former enemies. It was the first time so many different worlds had come together with one goal, to stop the coming darkness. In the Grand Hall of Silar Prime, representatives gathered. Some were skeptical, some angry, but all listened as Marcus and Azura spoke with passion. "This war between us must end," Marcus said. "If we continue to fight, the greater enemy will destroy us all." Azura stepped forward. "Our marriage was the first step toward peace. Now we must unite beyond that bond and prepare for the threat ahead." Slowly, the leaders began to agree. Plans were made to share technology, weapons, and knowledge. Armies would train together. Scouts would explore the stars for signs of the greater enemy. But it was not easy. Old fears and grudges surfaced. Arguments threatened to break the fragile alliance. Marcus and Azura worked day and night, showing strength and patience. They reminded everyone that the future depended on unity. As the weeks passed, Marcus felt the transformation inside him grow deeper. The nanobots were no longer just tools. They had become a part of him. His mind could connect with Azura's, sharing thoughts and feelings instantly. One night, they stood on a balcony, looking out at the stars. "Do you think we can really stop what's coming?" Marcus asked. Azura smiled gently. We must believe, because if we don't, no one else will. Suddenly, a bright flash lit the sky. A message from the scouts. They had found signs of the greater enemy awakening, a massive force moving through the galaxy like a dark storm. Marcus clenched his fists. Then we have no time to lose. The Alliance fleet prepared for the greatest battle in history. Soldiers trained harder, scientists worked faster, and leaders made plans for survival. Marcus and Azura stood side by side, ready to lead their people into the unknown. Their marriage had started as a strange and unlikely union, a tool for peace between two worlds. But now, it was a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. Together, they would face the darkness. Together, they would protect life. And together, they would prove that when different worlds unite, they can overcome even the greatest threats. The stars were watching, and a new chapter for humanity and the HFY lottery was about to begin.